Everyone, the Castle here. So, got an X Live update for you. Okay. So, the plan for the game has always been that you can build the game while inside of the game, even while people are playing the game, which is kind of funny, but that's always been the plan. And so, one of the things that you need to be able to do when it is not just like building level geometry or and stuff like that is, but is also to actually build the items, the weapons, the gear, like the consumables, everything needs to be like actually not I'm not talking about crafting. I'm literally talking about making it so that these are actual things that can be uh, developed by the player while people are running around. So you might one day see me running around shooting or see somebody running around shooting stuff in actual like gameplay mode and building a house, and then looking up and then seeing somebody appear building a gun or a piece of armor or something like that, using bits and pieces of smaller models to make a cool looking bigger model. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to make those bits and pieces look good and all that, but it's generally just it's a pretty straightforward concept. I don't really think it's well, I don't think it's going to be too hard to do, but I am slowly getting it in place. So we already seen instances of like the hierarchical instancing that we've got going on over here, where I can like this entire thing right here is a prefab, and I can go into prefabs, and I can select this object, and I can. So this is like a chunk of level that I can just like drag around, but if I line it up here, you can see that this floor piece now lines up with the entrance to this. So I've essentially just plopped down a huge thing for hierarchical instancing. Now this is an instance with instances inside of it. So these particular pieces over here and everything like that are all like um, instances with instances inside of them, and it's pretty crazy. So how is it going to be to where I can actually build weapons and stuff? It works in the same principle. In fact, it's using the same exact object. So I added another field here um, for weapon, right? So when you go, so the type, so right now this is just like a level geometry prefab. I just call them all prefab for level geometry. But now I also call them prefab weapon. So when you look at the actual save game file that gets saved for this, you'll actually be able to see, oh, this is a weapon underscore pistol, weapon underscore rocket launcher, weapon underscore a sniper rifle or whatever, right? So you end up seeing this sort of like glowy kind of like highlight of what the pistol is and where the center of the pistol will be and everything like that. The origin is actually at the very top of it because it's a little bit easier for the iron sights to work if the weapon is actually built with its origin at the top where the iron sights actually are, so you can center it on the screen and everything like that. That's pretty much how I did it with Revulsion. Anyway, so um, what does that mean? You can do like in the same exact way that you can build prefabs like this. You then I'll have a library of meshes that you can select from. Right now, I'll just use some level geometry stuff for examples, but like you can place the top of the gun. There will be like a top of the gun piece that you can place, right? And it'll look kind of like the top of a gun piece, and maybe there'll be a bunch of other little things that you can do, and you can get a little bit more. You can change the grid size so you can get a little bit more uh, yeah, you can get a little bit more precision there. So like, just imagine if this just sort of looked like a piece of a gun, and then I can have like the handle. I can have like different meshes for like the handle. Right now, one thing that's kind of neat is that you can use like a pipe. So if I go to props, where are you pipes? There's a sphere there. I think I go into base, pipe straight, and you can kind of get like a kind of a barrel. Hey, it kind of looks like a gun. Now the green highlight won't actually be the actual mesh. It's just an indicator to show you like what the general scale of it will be. Um, Later on, you'll be it'll be possible to make much larger weapons. So like uh, you might need to have it set to, this would probably be fine. Maybe 2 and then 3 here, so that you can build, instead of a pistol, you can build more of a rocket launcher or a sniper rifle or something like that, or you know what I mean. So you have a little bit more room for the barrel, and this gets saved into a very similar file that's similar to the way the actual like level geometry is saved. Then I begin going down another process where you can actually. Oh wait, yeah, that's right. Actually, let me show. So you'll be able to save the prefab, the visual prefab, and then you'll also be able to have a button which then allows you to create an item underscore weapon. So if I'm in editor mode, the red screen is because I was inside of a spawn point. Um, you'll see like little icons here for create, modify weapon, right? This will bring up an interface that doesn't currently exist yet, but this will allow you to input all of the different stats for the weapon and everything like that, and I'll go over what all those stats are. Um, so if I go into let's see, is it inventory item? Okay, so it's a weapon struct, right? The first thing on the list will be the view model, which is the thing that I just showed you that you can actually build. So that'll load that chunk of like level file stuff right there as a single object, all in in a sort of a little instance of the weapon will then be in front of you. Now, being able to tag each of the different pieces so that it can be part of like different parts of the gun, like the spinning barrel and stuff like that, will just be done with the target name like with the target name uh, thing, which I'll just make that available for regular objects as well, like so that you can actually like assign it to like what things that it will actually be um, parented to. So you can have like the slide of the gun come back, and you can have the hammer actually animate. It's kind of weird, the little creative things like that can probably be done. Jesus, kind of ambitious, isn't it? But it's not really that crazy. Once the system is in place, I mean, it's really just moving a bunch of bits and pieces around. It's probably going to be more interesting where I just sit here for like a week straight just building little tiny bits and pieces of guns so that you can have a little bit of creativity to be able to do all kinds of crazy cool stuff. I want to build a shotgun. I want to build a thing like that. So the rate of fire, physical damage, armor piercing damage, which means that this is something that ignores armor. I'm using a Fallout New Vegas style armor class system so that if your base damage does not increase, is not above what the armor can prevent damage on, then your damage is like way reduced. It becomes like a tiny fraction of what it should be because the armor is actually stopping your bullets. And you can use armor piercing, which an armor piercing stat, which doesn't do as much damage against stuff with low armor, but it actually allows you to deal damage to objects with tons of armor and stuff like that. So you might have to have like armor piercing rounds if you want to destroy like a big metal wall or something like that, or a robot with heavy armor or something along those lines. You'll have to have like armor piercing rounds or something along those lines. Fire damage, ice damage, shock damage, radiation damage, poison damage, and then the time to kill. Time to kill is I pick a specific amount of damage that if you fire at the gun, you fire your gun at the target, it should deal this. How many seconds does it take to deal this much damage? I factor all of these different variables in with the rate of fire and make it so that the time to kill for like an object with 1,000 hit points, I can just say 2 seconds. So this gun will do 1,000 damage in 2 seconds factoring in all of these different things in a percentile within that 2 seconds. So it's a bit mathy, but basically all of these different things become a percentage. They all get factored in as a percentage. Now, armor piercing doesn't really increase your base damage. It just means that you have the ability to ignore armor up to X amount of armor. So that percentage probably grows a little bit faster than the others, but all the others are pretty even. And then I figure that out. Accuracy, accuracy max, accuracy minimum. So you start off usually in the middle with the accuracy, and then there are different things that can actually increase the cone of around the weapon. I have a maximum for like if you want a gun that has like a shotgun spread, then you actually set the accuracy min and max, and to just being the one cone. But if you have an assault rifle where if you fire it, it can like it could be a little bit of a random spread to it, or a submachine gun or something like that. Reload time. A lot of this stuff is just stuff that I did in Revulsion anyway. Reload time. How many seconds does it take to reload? I don't know if reload time should be factored into TTK, but who knows? Maybe I will. On hit status effect. So status effects will work in sort of like armor, or any item that you might equip. You'll just see an icon on the top left side of the screen, or something like that. A little icon that indicates, oh, I'm taking fire damage, and if the bar fills all the way up, I'll start having a damage over time effect where I actually catch fire, kind of like Dark Souls. But there could be a number of ways to actually receive a status effect. But maybe if you have a gun that paralyzes somebody or something like that, you fire it, and the character just ragdolls to the ground. Um, Paralysis or whatever. That's just actually another class of object that can be associated with a character for status effects. Um, Aim down sight, display scope. So if it's a sniper rifle, does it display a scope graphic? Does it change the crosshair or whatever? Aim down sight, zoom range. Some weapons will have different ranges for zoom. This should actually be 0.9. ADS accuracy. Does aim down sight actually increase accuracy, and to what point? It should usually increase it up to the accuracy max. So some guns will be able to actually increase their accuracy if you aim down the sight. Per shot accuracy gain, per shot accuracy loss. So every time you fire the gun, do you gain accuracy? Every time you fire the gun, do you lose accuracy? Like guns that kick a lot, but if you have something like an LMG, you might actually want the cone to get smaller as you're firing it, kind of like the LMG does in the light machine gun does in Revulsion. Weapon spin up threshold. This is a threshold that must be reached before the gun can begin firing, kind of like the chain gun, the minigun and stuff like that in Revulsion. Per shot ammo consumption. How many bullets does it use? Magazine size. Now you'll notice that I'm not actually using ammo types because I'm not doing that. Every weapon has its own ammo. And that's it. So, like, you don't carry ammo around. You don't have boxes of ammo. Every weapon has its own limit of charges. It's just like a universal thing. If I have a potion that has 3 uses, if I have a gun, if I have a pistol, the magazine might only hold 12 rounds, but, maybe it has 198 max ammo on it. That's the pistol that I can carry a few different pistols around, and I can use that as a way to have lots of a lot more ammo or whatever, right? It's just a way for all of the guns. They all pull from their own pool of ammo, and that means that in order to balance for that, the max ammo for a lot of these guns probably won't be that high, and it'll cost a little something in order to be able to refill them. It's the same thing as repairing or whatever. Like, it'll be part of the crafting system or whatever. Number of projectiles. So if it's a shotgun, it might fire 4 pellets. If it's a light machine gun, it'll just do 1 projectile at a time. Weapon kick visual effect. So this is like how much the screen jerks whenever you fire. It's a pretty important visual effect. Does the muzzle flash? If there is a muzzle flash, then I go to weapon fire effects and I'll pull information from there. Notice that these are enumerators. These aren't actually pulling like actual colors and everything like that. It's because it's a little bit easier for me to um, make these things. These are all of these things will be available in game using that interface that I explained before when you press that one button, and then there'll be like a row of buttons where you can make a bunch of stuff and then point them to stuff that has actual like visual um, prefabs. So reload weapon sounds, which the default one right now is small magazine because the first gun in the game is going to be a pistol. Projectile name. No, I actually don't think that I need this anymore because I actually rolled that projectile type and all that stuff here, so I can actually go ahead and get rid of that. That's not necessary anymore. So projectile file name. There won't be a projectile file name. Every weapon will simply just have stats for its own projectile. So these are all going. This will all get saved into another save file, and the visual file that gets pulled into the view model will be this thing here, which is the thing that I showed in the beginning of the video when you create that. So you package a bunch of separate little pieces together, and then this gives it all of its stats and everything like that. And then I go ahead and I might have to like have the view model work a certain way or something like that. It's possible. So the view model is usually the gun that appears on the screen when you're in first person mode. And then maybe I can make it so that you can actually drop the gun on the ground or something like that, so you can be able to do that. So that's pretty much the progress right now for Exalive. So yeah, like just imagine like you're playing the game and like you can actually have a dev not only creating world geometry, adding new types of monsters, new types of guns, new types of everything. Like all of it is all just part of one thing. I'm building a game where you build the game in the game while playing the game. That's the idea. All right. It's pretty crazy. So yeah. Here we go.